Ohio, Ohio, Ohio gozaimasu. Welcome everybody to the Life of the Party podcast. I'm your boy Emcee Ricky. That's me right there to the right. As you can see on my 21.5-inch all-in-one Mac computer. That picture was actually taken from a DJ City Japan Tour 10-year anniversary wrap-up tour party. It was at Warp Shinjuku. So big shout out to everybody at that particular venue. Big shout out to DJ City Japan and big shout out to John Ravinder. I'm actually wearing this nice piece of material from them. So big shout out to everybody involved in that and wish you nothing but continued success going forward. Now, the Life of the Party podcast is not just limited to my life as a top MC or what I have endured from the beginning all the way to where I'm at right now. I'll be talking about sports, I'll be talking about entertainment, and a variety of other topics as it pertains to the life of the party. I truly and honestly believe that life in itself is a party, depending on how you live it, and what you go through is how good or bad it may turn up to be, all right? So that's why it's called Life of the Party podcast. But in this particular episode, which is kind of like the opening one, I did want to kind of give some background as to who I am and where I'm from, something I get quite often asked about. Where are you from? So originally I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, West Philadelphia, 63rd and Girard. But while the song from Will Smith and the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air goes, in West Philadelphia, born and raised on the playground where I used to spend most of my days. I was born in West Philadelphia, but not raised. I've actually been raised overseas in Japan, which brings me to my next question is how did I end up in Japan? Well, I'm actually a military brat, a proud military brat. My dad is a retired member of the Air Force in the United States Armed Forces. So big shout out to my dad. A lot of my friends who are military brats travel all the way around, but I spent all of my time overseas actually in Japan. I love this nation. I love the land of the rising sun. And what I do now as far as being a top MC, I incorporate as much as I can from the culture while making sure that I stay true to who I am and don't kind of seem like I'm just being kind of corny about things. But I truly do love the culture and love where I'm at. But that's how I ended up in Japan. As far as who kind of inspired me growing up, mom and dad, I'm sure you would think the same way about your parents or whoever raised you, whatever situation that you may or may have been growing up. But my parents were tremendous for both myself and my brother. We kind of have this no-nonsense approach to things and no excuses, put in the hard work. You've heard it all before, but they both had to kind of adopt this mind over matter. Like, you know, if you tell yourself you can do it, then you can do it. Now, there are certain things that are impossible. Like, I can't fly now. But if you put your mind to it and you really feel like you can do it, anything's possible. And most everything or anything can happen. So big shout out to my parents. It really instilled practice makes perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. Whatever you do, make sure you apply it to whatever situation that you have and you can continue on to whatever success that you're looking for or you're looking to attain, all right? As far as the music, I've always been a big fan of hip-hop, R&B. First part of music that I ever was able to purchase, I actually didn't purchase it. My mom, after I kind of, convinced her, she bought me the Nas It Was Written album. I remember listening to If I Rule the World over and over and over again. She also purchased Waiting to Exhale, the soundtrack for me as well. She's a big Whitney Houston fan. And I might add that my mom is a tremendous singer as well. She was actually called on a number of occasions to sing the American national anthem at a number of professional Japanese baseball games in which certain teams that had X amount of American players on there, every once in a while they would have a day where they would sing the American national anthem, and she would do that. So that was really neat. It's also, as far as music growing up, I was a big Puff Daddy and the Family fan. I remember dressing up like Puff Daddy when I was in high school, listening to all the music. What was really interesting is listening to the music and not realizing that he had sampled so much of it, and that my parents would sit there and just be rocking with me. I'm just like, what's going on here? What's? And they're like, hey, I get down to this. I'm like, okay, all right. So that was really cool to connect with them on that front. My mom was and still is an English teacher. She has private English students, and she taught international school and then a Japanese school. So she was really big on myself and my brother grammatically. A lot of times we'd be in school and doing a report, and we do the report, and before she even really read it, she would just look at it grammatically. Before I said, how was the report? Like, no, you have to make sure this is grammatically correct, because I can't get past these grammatical errors, so you need to fix them. So I've always kind of been grammatically correct with everything that I try to do, at least on pen and paper. So big shout out to Mom for that. And I have been noticed by that in certain aspects of what I do in my regular everyday work. And then my dad, he was a basketball player. Like I said, he was retired Air Force. He's actually an all Air Force guard a number of times. And then he actually was a coach. He coached me in middle school. He coached a lot of people in high school. He knows what he's doing, and he's instilled a level of confidence and persistence in myself and my brother that we continue to push forward and do in our everyday lives. I'm trying to get the words, but you kind of feel it. Can you feel what I'm talking about? As far as some of the hobbies, I was an all-sport athlete: football, basketball, baseball, which a lot of people are into. Football, wide receiver; basketball, point guard, shooting guard; all-star athlete. Baseball, which some people say was my best sport. I played actually year-round growing up in Japan. I played on a base team that was in a Japanese league, so we used to play double headers every Sundays. We practiced 5 days a week. 5 days a week, I kid you not. I was not getting in trouble because I was always at practice. I'm telling you, we practiced Monday through Friday. The team was called the Dakota Tigers. So shout out to any of my Tigers who end up watching this podcast or listening to it and be like, yep, he's right. Yep, he's right. But yeah, I played baseball year round, 9 to 10 months, and then I played basketball as well, and I played those all the way up through high school. I was lucky enough to, once I spent some time in college, came back to Japan. I went to college in Connecticut, Southern Connecticut State University for a bit, came back, and then started going on night ventures, the clubbing and things of that nature. But I actually started playing for a base basketball team. I've actually, spent the better part of a decade playing basketball just competitively. And I'm very lucky and very fortunate for that. It's fun. It's really cool and kind of interesting because the people that covered my dad when he was playing basketball ended up covering me. So like every article that was written, if I had a really good game, whether it was football, basketball, or baseball, it would go like this: like, son of former 3-time All Air Force guard Ricky Cabral scored 25 points today. Like every single time. If I had a good outing, then it was like, oh, okay, I know it's coming. So I have a lot of clippings. But then I got even more clippings once I started playing base basketball. But I like to think that I deserved every ounce of respect I've gotten because I put it in the work. So like I said, mind over matter. That's what I've adopted, and I really believe in that. That's pretty much it as far as a general idea of who I am, where I came from. To a lot of people, they remember me as being kind of quiet and laid back, which is still true to this day. I am a little more reserved, but I do have an opinion. I will voice it when I need to. There's a certain switch that I talk about and that I execute when I need to. My parents used to put me in modeling fairs when I was a little kid. I think I was the first one I went to. I remember this audition. I was like 5 or 6 years old. It might have been 7. I don't know. I can't remember. But I had to sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star in front of a bunch of people. And there's a lot of kids in there. And I was a little bit just like, why are y'all looking at me? But anyway, I sang Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. And I finished, right? And I thought I did an okay job, but, you know, my dad was there with me. And then later on, he was like, both of my parents, they were just, so you might want to move your hands or move your body or whatnot. So I guess evidently I was just kind of like a robot. Like, only thing that was moving was my mouth. So from that point all the way up, no matter how I acted in my everyday life, I was like, okay, when it's time to put on the show, you got to put on the show. You got to flip that switch. You got to let people know that you're there. You got to dance. You got to move. It's more than just having a good voice. You have to show people what you're worth and that you can really do the job. So I learned a little bit at a very young age. And then that kind of helped me going forward with more modeling jobs. I got into grade school and then middle school. I remember I landed a big job. Actually, me and my brother landed this job. We actually got a commercial job in Australia. So they flew us to Australia, all expenses paid. Of course, on top of that, we got paid for the gig. There was a model that was there that they flew from Minnesota. they flew her from Minnesota all the way to Australia. So it's like, that was wild. My dad got to go with this. That was really cool. And on top of that, like I said, it was a different time. This was years ago. We went to like all these amusement parks in Sydney and Brisbane. I haven't been back since, but I would love to go back. But that was an opportunity where I had a chance to flip the switch, and I flipped the switch. Leading up to the time where I started becoming a top MC, I started landing more and more jobs. So when I came back from college, I was just like, okay, because I still regularly get contacted by modeling agencies. Like, hey, are you available for this? But usually there was something that I had going on. It was work, or it was sports. I had a basketball game, or I had a baseball game or something, and I was so in love with sports. I was like, okay. But then when I came back, I was like, okay, now I gotta find a way to really make a living and have love and passion for something and make money at the same time, because that's the ultimate goal, right, for all of us. Make money and do something that you enjoy and love. So I started getting more gigs, and a lot of them had to do with dancing. I was really good at dancing. Some people might not know that, but I used to be a really good freestyle dancer. Now, I wasn't part of any dance groups, but I would just really kind of just freestyle it, pop lock, crump or whatnot. I used to do a lot of that, and I could still get down every once in a while, but a lot of jobs that I landed had to do with dancing. And then there were certain jobs that I used to get, like picture auditions that would have maybe some close-ups or other commercials, but majority of them were music videos, magazines, and commercials that either do with sports, dancing, or on occasion I had just a regular. Hey, it got to the point where I didn't have to audition actually for a few. They would just call and like, hey, you available on this date? Yeah, I am. Okay, all right. So we need you here at this time. Can you make it? I will be there. But that's when I learned how to flip the switch, because when you do audition, if you ever been to an audition or where you've been put on the spot, I think all of us have been under a certain level of pressure, but it's just one thing where you're asked to do something you don't normally do, and then you have to do it in front of like 15 or 20 or 30 other people who are just sitting there looking at you. And then let alone you got to be the first one, or you're the last one, or you're in the middle, or they're asking you to do something you're not really comfortable with. But then that's when I remembered, hey, this is a switch. This is when I have to turn it on. It's like acting, all right. I can do this for a bit and then go right back to what I am used to doing or comfortable doing. But at this certain time, this is what I got to do. And then that's how I applied that mentality to what I'm able to do now. In the midst of everything going down during the pandemic, it's been very difficult. And once I'm confident that things will turn around for the better very soon. And when that happens, I'll be right back out there turning the spot up. So that's just in a nutshell who I am, where I'm from, who's inspired me, what I was into as a kid, what type of music I listened to on my way on becoming a top MC in Japan. Once again, it's not limited to just what I am as a top MC. I'll be talking about some other topics. I will continue along this road as far as my experience as an MC, because I know that's what has gravitated a lot of people to me. It'll be a heavy on that, but then I'll venture off into other subjects like I mentioned before. So once again, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions pertaining to this podcast, or if you want to know anything more, if you liked it, if you didn't like it, please leave comments. I want to grow with this. I want to put my experiences out there and let people know what it's like to live in Japan and what it's like to play sports, what it's like to be a part of this underground music industry, the club industry. I have a lot of things going forward, but I'm just being patient. In the meantime, while I can't be out and about in the city, I want to put this particular content out there just to kind of give you guys some feedback from my perspective. So thank you once again. I already said Ohio gozaimasu. I'll start every episode with that. That's my staple word that I say. I can't tell you how much love and respect I feel and get whenever I say that in a crowd and people yell it back at me. I'm known as Mr. Ohio. I go to a convenience store and people come up to me and they're just like, "Hey, you're the Ohio guy, aren't you?" Yes. I also have a name. It is Ricky. Otsukare sama deshita. I'll see you guys in the future.